You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
Welcome back to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be getting an update from Luminex Resources. If you're not familiar with the company, you can find more information in addition to this interview at LuminexStockEducation.com. The ticker symbol in Toronto is LR, and on the OTC, you can find it under the ticker LUMIF. Since we last spoke with Luminex, and that interview detailed now about 5 million ounce gold resource they have there at the Condor project in Ecuador. Much has progressed with the company. Being a raw speedy company, part of the Lumina Group, it's really not a problem for Luminex to raise money, and they raised $13 million. They also put out some high-grade gold intercepts at the Camp Zone portion of the Condor project, announced some positive metallurgical results from the camp deposit, and also successfully graduated to the OTCQX exchange. And they're also currently building a new camp to drill a very prospective new target, hopefully later this year or at least early next year. That is called the Cascas project. And here to talk about this new project, as well as all these developments I just referenced, is the president of Luminex Resources, Diego Benalcazar, as well as Marshall Koval, returning guest, CEO and director. So welcome, gentlemen. And Diego, I'd like to kick it over to you to start. This Cascas project, the market doesn't know much about it yet. Why are you excited about this property, and what is the potential that you see here?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much for the space here. We have been keen to select proliferous ground in Ecuador, and basically what we have in Cascas is part of a legacy exploration work that was done in the past. Bits and pieces of information from a few companies doing detailed geological mapping and some sampling. But what we had as far as knowledge of the area in Cascas really helped us define the size and location of these concessions. Basically, what is being found through these efforts, which are basically initial exploration efforts, is a two-phase porphyry copper gold mineralized system. This system is very, very important in size. It's one of those anomalies that complement basically the idea that we are in elephant porphyry country, and most of these porphyry systems do have expressions of epithermal type minerals. In our case, we do have well-defined anomalies of copper in the northern part, and copper anomalies combined or overprinted to copper anomalies in the southern part, Cascas 2. The system, as we are defining, has 5 kilometers times 2.5 kilometers, a coincident anomaly of copper and moly, and a 3 times 2.5 kilometer coincident gold arsenic anomaly. When we started the program, the project had some legacy information from running aeromagnetics and radiometric response aerial survey. It had some soil and rock geochemistry, but very basic. We've complemented all that information by doing some detailed geological mapping, structural mapping. Early in the year, we finished flying a ZTEM, electromagnetic airborne system. And now we are in the process of sampling a soil grid, which is 300 times 300 meter in distance per location of every sampling station. So we're about to finish collecting 670 soil samples for geochemistry, and complementing that with about 100 rock geochemistry samples.
The Lumina Group has experienced above average success when it comes to finding deposits. So is what you described part of the process that you go about to minimize risk of missing when you initiate a big program like this?
Well, the only way that you can be, better, I would think, aiming a good target is when you do systematic work, and this is just what we do. We do step by step, the process that really will respond to trying to depict and narrow better the area that will deserve drilling in the future. And even when you come to drilling, you start with scout drilling, of course, to test initially the area.
How come no other companies have drilled this target yet? What's a little more of the history of the property?
First of all, Ecuador is not a mining tradition country. It's only in the past 15 years that, after major discoveries, Ecuador turned to be a destination investment. This area in particular has been very, very remote. The access to the area by road to the edge of the eastern part of the concession was only built 8 years ago. So basically, this being so remote and being ancestral territory or for local Amerindian people, we have done a very interesting job into complementing, our efforts of exploration by running, interesting community programs. So that's why basically there was not truly a barrier of entrance to anybody, but it was so remote and so unknown, and Ecuador was not truly a mining and exploration destination.
This is Marshall. Diego's being a little bit modest here because one of the key aspects of getting into a remote area in an indigenous territory is how you really deal with the people and gaining trust. And we pride ourselves as a company of having robust social programs, social, environmental, good governance. And, Diego was firsthand on the ground, helping us work over a long period of time to get this access. So it isn't a total barrier, but, the trust is a key issue. And maybe Diego can detail some of those steps that we took and how we got there.
Are you dealing with a cosmo vision, which is totally different from the Western vision we do have about the environment and how life develops, and trying to really land your ideas into what they need and what they'd like to do and have, and who they would like to get associated in a way with. It takes a long time. And building that trust is really trying to talk their language, and not as a matter of saying, and it's only possible when you step by step prove that you are there to provide a better situation in terms of health and income, and also to help them, enhance their productivity in different areas. So for us, it was an effort of more than a year and a half, talking to the many different institutions. That is sort of an indigenous political structure that you need to talk from the level of the higher hierarchy to the local households, and they all function with the authority of the higher hierarchy level. And so it's a step by step and coming from top down until you can really prove that you're doing any efforts for them to have a benefit of the company walking around exploring, and at the end provide jobs.
So it's about trust too, I'm hearing you say, not just about giving them things that they physically need.
They don't go for that. Truly, they don't go for that. That was the old fashion of trying to accommodate yourself, and that's not gonna really create a long-term relationship. The only way that you can really work with them is with functional components of a social program.
What does it look like for drill permits for a project like this? How is it working with the Ecuadorian government over drill permits?
We've had some difficulties from the government to understand the need for to expedite permits in time. But knowing that this is a complex situation, the Mines Ministry did create a solution for that matter, which is called the Scout Drilling Program. You can, under early stage or early exploration stage in a concession, you can apply for a scout drilling permit until you finish obtaining the environmental license. So prior to the environmental license with the scout drilling, you are allowed to drill up to 40 platforms and as many drill holes you could do from 40 platforms. So that's the way we have been developing our grassroots projects. And as a matter of fact, this is proven to be the solution to many of the companies getting domiciliated in Ecuador.
With this project too, I assume you would have to build some roads to get the drills in there. What's that process like, and how far along are you?
We don't like building roads. Actually, we will be bringing more man-portable rigs. The only road that comes into the town, the so-called Shamataka, will help us bring, by truck the major elements. From there on, everything is brought in by hand. So what we do, and also the law does control that. We use only, very narrow tracks where you have to either hand pull or hand bring the equipment in. But also we make good use of the rivers coming in. So we are floating the equipment, and we're bringing up and down the goods, required goods for the camp. And this is the way that we also bring the samples out of the concession.
Marshall, you have these greenfield projects like Cascas, which has blue sky potential, but then you also have a 5 million ounce and growing gold deposit on your hands with Condor. So at the executive level, how do you make a decision of where to put your efforts and spend the money versus greenfield versus this existing project?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Bill. I mean, we're blessed in that we went into Ecuador very early. Diego was a key component of our team starting back in 2013. And as you'll recall, we have the Cangrejos project in Lumina Gold, our sister company. And we had built up all these assets through acquisitions of Ecuador gold and copper. And then when they opened up the concession system in 2016, 2017 timeframe, we acquired a lot of highly prospective projects. So, along those lines, we looked at being primarily a gold player, but because of our history in Lumina Copper, we acquired some really good copper projects. We spun those off in JVs with Anglo American and BHP. And so that sort of left us focused on gold. And we have other targets besides the Condor project and the Cascas, but Condor and Cascas are our two most prospective areas. Obviously, the 5 million ounce resource at Condor is well advanced. We're doing metallurgical work. We're starting to look at scoping PEA studies. We're doing some initial look at infrastructure and engineering and hope to advance that. But really, when it comes down to it, it's always good to have another pipeline project in the prospectivity that Cascas has in this quite large gold anomaly that Diego was talking about. It really begs to be drilled. And so for us, it's a relatively low cost exploration program with a high degree of potential success. So we're really excited to get out and get Cascas drilled. Meanwhile, we continue with our operations at Condor and the camp zone, moving the project along. We have a drill going right now. We have a second drill available, and with COVID, we're slowed down a bit, but we're moving along. So, that's really how you look at things. And I think if we had a situation where we hadn't done so much work with the community at Cascas, we wouldn't even envision drilling right now. But we were so far advanced, and we've got good protocols for health and safety with the community and with our projects that we feel pretty comfortable continuing to work at Cascas like we are now.
In terms of catalyst for the company, you would have at least 4 projects with drills running then right now, right? Condor, Cascas, and your 2 JVs?
Well, yeah, I mean, the plans are to drill all of those. COVID has slowed down both Anglo and BHP, who had plans to be drilling this year. Still may happen. Condor, we are drilling, and then hopefully by year end, we'll drill the target at Cascas.
Marshall, what more can you share about the excellent drill results that you put out since we last talked? One of the press headlines said Luminex intersects 25 meters of 3.3 grams per ton gold at the camp zone. What's the significance of this?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. We have sort of drilled about 500 meters along strike of the camp zone and about 600 meters vertical. A lot of the mineralization is related to these rhyolites that have been intruded, and you get breccia zones both in the hanging wall and the footwall, above and below the rhyolite. And we have been primarily testing the hanging wall side, the upper side of these rhyolites. And this last hole that you referred to, we've got deeper into the deposit. We found that the mineralization is not only in the upper hanging wall and in the rhyolite itself where it's been broken up, but it continues into the footwalls. So, you know, that was towards the tail end of our drilling. I believe the last hole we published was hole number 33. And so we've been really happy with that. So now we're looking at going back to the northwest and looking at some shallower targets on some areas that we've recently got access to. And we'll continue to look at drilling there.
You also did some initial engineering work with metallurgical results that you announced. It says 95% gold recoveries and 80% silver recoveries. Can you elaborate on this a little, please?
Yeah, this is some of the, you know, I've been in the mining industry some 40 plus years, and I've done a lot of metallurgical work on a lot of projects. And this is, the camp zone itself is one of the better metallurgical responses that we've seen in laboratory testing. You know, we had 300 kilos of core samples sent to a laboratorial Plengi in Lima from 14 holes. And, you know, if you look at, we had a low grade, high grade, and medium grade sample that we did. And if you look at how in current metal prices, you know, gold is probably 85% of the revenues, and silver is another sort of 6-7%. So, you know, about 92%, 92% of the revenues of the camp zone is going to come from gold and silver. And we've got excellent response on that. You recover sort of 33-34% of gold in a gravity concentrate alone. There's coarse gold. We've actually seen visible gold in the core. And then the rest of it, you run through a leaching cycle, through a CIL treatment plant where you leach bulk concentrates after the gravity circuit. So that gives us the 95% gold recovery. And then there's also, after you leach it, you've got the potential to recover lead and zinc in a concentrate. So if you look at silver, gravity, CIL, and zinc, lead zinc concentrate, you recover about 80% of the silver, 56% of the lead, and 62% of the zinc. And the other thing that was kind of interesting, it was pretty low cyanide consumption. So all those things bode real well for real positive metallurgical response. And also, finally, it didn't require real fine grinding to liberate the gold. You know, you liberated about 97% of the gold in a fairly coarse ball mill circuit, you know. So that bodes really well for the metallurgy at the camp zone. And, you know, we've done other metallurgy historically at Los Cuyes, Soledad, Enma, Chinapinza, and Santa Barbara, some of the other resource areas at Condor. And, you know, the metallurgy there is usually sort of 80 to 90% gold recoveries for most of those areas. So metallurgically, the Condor project is shown us a very good response to gold recoveries and other metals.
And what is the plan for balancing engineering studies with expansion drilling? Can you speak to that? What should investors expect with this project?
So we've done some work to try to extend the strike length, and we're doing some drilling that has been sort of step out drilling quite a ways, trying to define other areas where the camp zone might continue. We know more or less where the camp zone is now, and what with the resource estimate that we published recently, the real focus is less so much on drilling today, but stepping back and trying to scope a project that we can move forward with a PEA. You know, probably looking at around the $1,500 an ounce gold range as a base case. And so we're working with mining engineers. We've got these metallurgical results now. So, you know, the project shifted a bit away from just an all-out drilling program. We'll continue to drill as we go along. But now we're trying to focus on, can we define an engineering project that looks good? Haywood has done some research. They put forth their plans on what they view the potential project might look like in a production scenario, and we're doing our own work internally as well.
Excellent. So as investors look towards the end of 2020, are there any other catalysts for the company that they should be aware of?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, our partners in BHP and Anglo, and hopefully they'll be able to get to the field. I know they both want to start drilling. They've already defined drill targets. BHP at Tarkey has a program defined in a real high-grade copper area. Sort of work that we've done has been plus 1% copper and rock outcrop and soils, so they'll be drilling that target. And then Anglo American has defined a geophysical anomaly that's real prospective for copper, and they've done a lot of surface geology and such, a prospect called Medusa, and hopefully we'll see them drilling as well. So, you know, I think if we weren't in the COVID area, we'd have, like you mentioned earlier, in the next little bit, we'd have 4, or by the end of the year, have 4 drill rigs going on 4 different projects. And, hopefully that'll still happen sooner than later.
Excellent. Well, Marshall and Diego, thank you for the update. And if you want to learn more, please do, as I said at the beginning, go to LuminexResources.com. The ticker symbol again in Toronto is LR, and on the OTC, it is LUMIF. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.